You are being warned, and you probably don't even know it. The most dangerous mistakes in life never announce themselves. They disguise themselves as normal days, harmless habits, and people you trust. That's why so many wake up years later wondering where their confidence, happiness, or closest relationships disappeared. Here's the twist. The greatest manipulation you'll ever face may not come from someone controlling you. It may come from the quiet lies your own mind has repeated until they felt like truth. If that thought made you uncomfortable, don't ignore it, because one of the 7 hidden signs you're about to see could already be shaping your decisions, your future, and your life, without you ever noticing. The scariest part isn't when you feel pain. It's when you stop feeling anything at all. If you've noticed that nothing excites you anymore, don't assume it's just adulthood. Emotional numbness is often your brain's survival mode after carrying stress for too long. And that's exactly when manipulative people gain the most influence. When you're emotionally drained, you're less likely to question unfair treatment, speak up for yourself, or walk away from unhealthy situations. Imagine a workplace where your boss constantly dismisses your ideas. After hearing you're overreacting enough times, you stop sharing them altogether. Psychologists call this learned helplessness. When repeated setbacks convince your brain that your actions no longer matter, even when they do. The moment you stop trusting your own feelings, you start handing someone else control over your decisions. And the next sign reveals the quiet habit that keeps that cycle alive without you even noticing. The biggest losses in life rarely happen in a single moment. They happen one, "I'll deal with it later" at a time. Manipulative people understand this better than you might think. They don't always force your decisions. They encourage delay. Because every day you postpone setting a boundary or asking a hard question, they keep the advantage. Imagine a friend who repeatedly says, "Let's not make this a big deal," every time they cross a line. Weeks turn into months, and you begin questioning whether your feelings even matter. Psychologists call this the status quo bias. Your brain naturally prefers leaving things unchanged even when they're hurting you. That's how confidence fades, self-respect weakens, and poor decisions become habits. The problem you avoid today often becomes tomorrow's crisis, and the next sign reveals why staying constantly busy can be just as dangerous as doing nothing at all. The most dangerous trap isn't doing too little, it's doing so much that you never notice you're standing still. Manipulative environments thrive on this. Whether it's a demanding boss, a controlling partner, or even constant digital distractions, keeping you endlessly busy leaves you too mentally exhausted to question what truly matters. Picture a workplace where you're praised for answering every email instantly, but never given time to build the skills that could change your future. Psychologists call this attention fragmentation. When your focus is constantly interrupted, your brain mistakes activity for achievement, even as real progress disappears. Slowly you stop trusting your priorities, settle for survival instead of growth, and let others define your value. Ask yourself, are you building your future or just maintaining someone else's? Because the next sign reveals what happens when you wake up one day and no longer recognize the person you've become. The saddest moment isn't losing someone else. It's realizing you've slowly lost yourself. Manipulative people rarely demand that you change overnight. Instead, they reward every small compromise until your real personality begins to disappear. You stay quiet to avoid conflict. You apologize for things that weren't your fault. You hide your opinions just to keep the peace. Imagine a relationship where your partner constantly says, "You're too sensitive." Eventually, you stop trusting your own emotions and start editing who you are. Psychologists call this self-concept erosion, when repeated pressure slowly disconnects you from your values and identity. As your self-respect fades, your decisions become driven by fear instead of conviction. If the person in the mirror feels unfamiliar, don't ignore that feeling. It may be your authentic self fighting to return. And the next sign reveals how this hidden change begins to reshape every relationship in your life. The loneliest place you'll ever stand isn't an empty room. It's a crowded one where nobody truly knows the real you. Manipulative people often encourage this kind of isolation because disconnected people are easier to influence. If you don't have trusted voices reminding you of your worth, you become far more likely to believe the one voice trying to control you. Imagine a partner who gradually criticizes your closest friends until you stop seeing them. At first, it feels like protecting the relationship. Over time, it becomes your entire world. Psychologists call this social isolation, and research shows it can make people more vulnerable to pressure and self-doubt. As meaningful connections disappear, your confidence, judgment, and independence begin to fade with them. Real relationships should restore your energy, not drain it, and the next sign exposes the quiet voice that may be working against you every single day. The most convincing liar you'll ever hear may be the voice inside your own head. Manipulative people understand that if they can make you doubt yourself long enough, they won't have to control you anymore. You'll begin doing it for them. Imagine a manager who constantly says, "You're just not leadership material." Months later, even after earning praise from others, you still hesitate to speak up because that message has become your own. Psychologists call this internalization, when repeated criticism is absorbed until it feels like your personal belief rather than someone else's opinion. Slowly, your confidence shrinks, your self-respect weakens, and fear starts making your decisions. Remember this: not every thought deserves your trust. Sometimes, the loudest voice is also the least truthful, and the final sign reveals the silent habit that steals years from people's lives before they even realize what's happening. The greatest tragedy isn't dying too soon. It's waking up one day and realizing you stopped truly living years ago. Manipulative people count on autopilot because people who never pause rarely question who is benefiting from their routine. You keep saying yes, keep following the same patterns, and keep sacrificing your own goals because it's easier than disrupting the familiar. Imagine staying in a job that drains you simply because everyone says, at least it's stable. Before long, months become years. Psychologists call this habit blindness. The brain becomes so accustomed to repeated behaviors that it stops evaluating whether they still serve you. That's how confidence fades, self-respect settles for less, and life-changing decisions are endlessly postponed. The moment you become aware, you reclaim your power. Your future isn't written by yesterday's routine. It's rewritten by the choice you make after opening your eyes today. The moment you become aware of what's quietly shaping your life is the moment your future begins to change. These signs weren't meant to make you suspicious of everyone. They were meant to help you stop abandoning yourself. Manipulation loses its power the instant you recognize it, because awareness is where real freedom begins. Remember this: the strongest prison is the one you never realize you're living in. Once you see the invisible patterns, you can finally choose a different path. If this video gave you a new perspective, consider liking it, subscribing, and tell us in the comments which sign hit you the hardest and why. Your story could become someone else's turning point. In our next psychology video, we'll uncover a hidden mental habit that silently controls your decisions every day. Until then, protect your mind, because the life you live tomorrow is built by the thoughts you refuse to surrender today.